the association of all of you, 5 of us released this particular book. But 2 of us were discriminated against. While 3 others were holding the book in their hands. But in our case, both of us were holding one book. But that is quite understanding. This is a place where mostly children's books are being exhibited. That is why I have been given the opportunity to release because I am baby. Children's book, you see. But the book that we have released is no children's book. Anti-Duri, as most of the comrades, senior comrades sitting here would know, is a very weighty theoretical work by Friedrich Engels. The comrade in arms of Karl Marx. This is a critique of the philosophical positions followed by Duri, a theoretician of their times. As Engels was criticizing the positions of Duri, the book got the title Anti-Duri. This was written centuries ago. They lived in the 19th century. And this book is being released on the 21st century. Marx and Engels, they formed a comradeship that we won't be able to see in the history of humanity anywhere else. There were 2 bodies and a single soul, almost single brain. Whatever comes into the brain of Marx, he used to share with Engels. Ever since they first met in Paris in early 1840s, 43, 44. I did not know that I had to speak about this. Now I am only speaking from my memory. I did not do any homework. After that, they lived together. Marx born in the year 1880. And Engels had his birth 2 years later, 1820. So Engels was 2 years junior to Marx. Marx died in 1883. Engels died, I think, 1895 or 1895. So Engels lived 12 years more than Karl Marx. One of the classic books, The Origin of Family, Private Property and the State, that Engels wrote based on the notes prepared by Karl Marx. How did Marx write the notes? He read a book by Ancient Society, Louis Morgan. Louis Morgan is an American. And generally people say that he is an anthropologist. But actually he was a lawyer. While handling some cases of Aboriginals in America, he started studying the life of the Aboriginals. Then he wrote this book, Ancient Society. That was published in 1877. I remember that very well. Marx lived only 6 years after that. 1883 he died. By which time he read the book of Louis Morgan, Ancient Society, and he started taking notes. He wanted to write a book, Marx, on this, but he died in 1883. Before that, he could not write. So Engels writes that this book, Origin of the Family, Private Property and the State, is based on the notes of Karl Marx, which he wrote after having read Louis Morgan's book, Ancient Society. So this is their collaboration. So this anti-Düring, the content of anti-Düring, though it is in the name of Engels, they had discussion. He and Marx had discussion. Some books, both of them together, German Ideology, it is jointly written by Marx and Engels. There are such books jointly written. So this is a great intellectual contribution. Now, I don't want to speak anything much about this, but I want to say something which perhaps you would feel very shocking. I am giving you advance warning. One person wrote, it is there in his writings. I would say who wrote this letter. He wrote, we don't regard Marx's theory. When he writes Marx's theory, it includes Engels also. Whatever Marx theory is the joint intellectual revolutionary work of Marx and Engels. So this person writes, we don't regard Marx's theory as completed or inviolable, comma. What does this mean? This person, that sentence is not over. This person is saying that this theory, which we all, some of us worship as gospel truth, isn't it? That is wrong. But this theory, this person says, it is not complete or it is not unquestionable. Inviolable means it can be questioned. So, again I repeat, we don't regard Marx's theory as complete or inviolable, comma. On the contrary, it has only laid the foundation stone of the science. That is the word used. Marx's theory has only laid the foundation stone of the science. The sentence still continues. This, the socialists have to develop in all directions from the foundation stone. Socialists must, the term used is must. It is German, I am referring to the English translation, and in this book, must also is in italics because there is no compromise. Socialists must develop it in all directions, or else, that's the meaning I remember. Some construction of the sentence is like variation. One cannot keep pace with life. If you don't develop it in all directions, one cannot keep pace with life. This is a sentence. Can anybody guess who has written this? Yes. What is this? Sorry. Lenin. You are right. Engels. Lenin is the later Engels. So you are also right. Nothing wrong. It's a profound idea. This is fourth volume of the collected works of Lenin in pages 211 and 12. Then Lenin speaks about the importance of encouraging healthy discussion, contradicting, varying discussion on theoretical issues. There should be, he says, in our Bolshevik paper, theoretical paper, we should open it to have different theoretical positions to clash, because there is no final word. Knowledgeable people should participate in theoretical debates. But on the party program, strategy and tactics, no. That discussion is within the party. You have to form strategy and tactics. That has to be followed. But on theoretical issues, there should be free and frank discussion. Then Lenin says, the revolutionary movement would take a path in Russia different from Germany. And in Germany, the path would be different from England. Like that. In the history of the undivided Communist Party, there was big debate. What would be the path of India for liberation, revolution? Whether it is Russian path or Chinese path. There were many discussions. Finally, we have come to the conclusion that it has to be Indian path. We may take some inspiration from what Bolshevik Party did in Russia, but it cannot be a carbon copy of Russian revolutionary path. We will take something from what Mao and others did in China, but it cannot be a carbon copy of China. Now we have Cuban Revolution in front of us. How this has developed. So, coming back to anti-Dury, when we read anti-Dury, don't read it as though this is gospel truth. Engels was against that. Marx was against that. They used to revise their own positions continuously. I would conclude by recalling one such concrete instance. Their first theatrical collaboration was most memorable theatrical collaboration. They collaborated many a time. But the most historically important collaboration of Karl Marx and Engels was 1847. You said it, Communist Manifesto. Writing manifesto for the Communist League in 1847. Then as we know, 1848 February 21, that is why Red Book Day is being observed, it was published. In 1852, the Communist League was disbanded. Within 5 years, Cologne uprising, Cologne trial, like Meerut conspiracy case and all that. So, some comrades were killed in the, uprising of 1848. Marx, Engels directly participated in that. Anyway, I don't want to. So, within 5 years, Communist League had to go underground. Openly, they disbanded it. Within 5 years. Then a regrouping happened in 1864. First International Working Men's Association. It is highly inspiring, but I can confess that that name itself is wrong. Why? International Working Men's Association. Here also only one woman comrade is sitting. That is a young girl. This is a male-dominated world. Then also it was like that. Later on, in First International, if you go through its minutes, there was discussion about women being organized and all that. And even in Communist Manifesto, originally, the final call is wrong. What is the final call? Working men of the world unite. Those days, men means women also. That is this. Anyway, let me not go into more intricate details. But there is in the collected works of Marx and Engels, there is the inaugural address of First International. The tenor and tone of the inaugural address is different from the tenor and tone of Communist Manifesto. Then there is a correspondence between Marx and Engels, where Marx writes, I have drafted this inaugural address in such a way that more and more sections of workers and their organizations can join this First International. So Marx consciously made it acceptable to more sections of working class. So he say, change of strategy. The language is being changed, more appealing, not hardcore like in conventional manufacturing. What does this mean? You should not always got entangled in some phrase, some usage and all that always. If you find out that some phrase, some usage is not in tune with the overall thinking of people, with the societal change, you should modify it. This is what Marx and Engels, through their action, told us. Now I would share with you a big blunder I used to commit. When I read this inaugural address of First International, what do we understand if we see this is inaugural address, then Karl Marx? Inaugural speech in the First International Conference that was inaugurated by Karl Marx. So in the text, it is inaugural address, Karl Marx. So in some study classes, I said, in the inaugural speech of Karl Marx, he said this and this and that. Content is same. Then I started reading the history of the First International. I had my shock. In the first meeting that was held 1864, September 27, 28, in St. Martin Hall, London, Marx was present, but Marx did not speak at all. So what is this? Marx did not speak in the First International. Here is the inaugural address by Karl Marx. Here, inaugural address means inaugural declaration. That is how it has come. So in some study classes, with retrospective effect, I apologize. I used to wrongly say, but Marx did not speak. That is in the history of First International. He was only present there. Then how this had happened? This I am saying that when we read and write and speak, we should cross-verify. Otherwise, without inadvertently, we may commit some mistake. You see, when I studied the history of the First International, it is written. Marx was present. He was quiet throughout. He heard the deliberation and all that. Then a committee was formed to draft a declaration. In that, Marx was also included. But in the first 1 or 2 meetings of the drafting committee, Marx could not go because of other engagements. Then Marx came to know that in the drafting committee, there were some representatives from Italy who were the followers of Mazzini, free socialist, Italy, Mazzini. Then Marx was told the Mazzini's followers, they are putting very strange ideas into the declaration. So you have to come. Then Marx comes on the 3rd or 4th meeting of the drafting committee. And Marx faces the followers of Mazzini in the drafting committee, 1 or 2 people. He asks, what is this? What you have written is a wrong idea. It's theoretically wrong. Then they said, then you write it. Then Marx overtook the responsibility and Marx drafted it. Therefore, it is known as the Declaration of First International drafted by Marx. The language used is inaugural address, that is opening address, first address of the International. Why did I explain so much, took so much of time to explain it? When you read something, you should not form a wrong perception on the basis. You should understand it accurately. This is what I say. So this is applicable to reading Andy During also. Any work of Marx and Engels and even Lenin. You see, we Marxists, we communists should read everything written by Marxist leaders and scholars with a critical mind. We also should understand what time they wrote it, in what context they wrote it, why they wrote it. This is very important. EMS have written a lot of things. When somebody has asked EMS, what you have written in 1963, what you have written in 1975, there is some contradiction. He said, yes, because there are different times. Therefore, there would be contradiction. What I wrote in 1963 was correct in that context. What I have written in 1974 is correct in 1974. The political situation is changing. So that is how dialectically you have to understand things. Therefore, you should not only read Andy During, there is another book, wonderful book by Frederick Engels, that is Dialectics of Nature. I have come to say that we have to dialectically understand. Therefore, you read Dialectics of Nature. There is one chapter there, the part played by labor in transition from ape to man. That's a chapter. It's a wonder. Entire book. And in some places of Dialectics of Nature, with the new discoveries and inventions in science, some portions are outdated. And you cannot blame Engels, because Engels wrote it studying the scientific progress till the time he lived. You see? And even he did not publish it, Dialectics of Nature, as a book. Later on, his notes were found, discovered. Then it was pieced together and it was published. That is the publishing history of Dialectics of Nature. You see? This particular, the part played by labor in the transition from ape to man, if you read that, there is one portion where the indivisibility of living organisms, including human beings and nature, he describes that. Who are we? We are outside nature, but we are part of nature also. You see, if we don't get oxygen through inhalation, can we live? If the door is closed and some paper, 200 newspaper is, burnt in this room, how many of us will survive? So, the oxygen that we need from nature shows that without nature, there is no human being. We are part of nature. We are the products of nature. You see, all these facts which generally we don't remember, in Dialectics of Nature, Engels describes. One paragraph starts, the meaning I remember. Human beings claim that we have won over nature. We are controlling nature. But later on we realize that the nature may hit back. When cyclone comes, when heavy rains come, even Chennai gets drowned, isn't it? Landslide. So nature has its own way of settling scores with human beings when we overdo over nature in the name of construction. In Himalaya ranges, you see, lot of so-called developments and construction work happen, nature retaliate with a vengeance. Engels in Dialectics of Nature could foresee all these things. You only need to read this particular chapter, that the part played by labor from the transition from ape to man. So Engels is a wonderful revolutionary and scholar like Karl Marx. You pick up his books, read, study, also understand that all this is written more than 150 years ago. See? Therefore, there could be lapses. There are lapses in it, quite unavoidable. I am extremely happy that Bharathi Puttagalaya, which is doing wonderful work in book publishing and in publishing children's book, wonderful work is being done by Bharathi Puttagalaya. I congratulate all of them, and I'm sorry that once we start speaking about Marx or Engels, various things would come from memory. So sorry for taking little more time. I am not responsible. Bharathi Puttagalaya is responsible for that. I hope works of Engels, Marx, Lenin, and other revolutionary scholars, EMS, Sundaraya, P. Ramamurthy also had written on practical questions. For whom the bell tolls. It's a leaflet by P. Ramamurthy. That is For Whom the Bell Tolls is a book by Hemingway. Here, bell is BHEL. That is Bharat Heavy Electricals. You see, when that was so to be privatized. Thank you very much. All the best.